Hannah, 24, sweet-faced, slightly chubby, sits across from her parents, Tad, early 60s, professorial, and Lorene, slim and understated, also in her 60s. Today, we're gonna deep dive into the best moments of Lena Dunham's Girls pilot script. Thank you so much for youngscreenwriters.com for supplying this to make diving into this just so much more fun. By the way, if you're new here, and if you like cozy yaps and commentary about your favorite pop culture moments, go ahead and hit subscribe. My name is Kira, this is Studio Violet, and welcome. Now, I'd be so curious about how much this script has been changed from this published script to the actual scene that we're watching right now. But I love, she calls out slightly chubby, which is so fascinating. I also do find it interesting as I'm reading Lena's book right now. She talks about how she was not originally even thinking of herself as Hannah, but everyone was kind of like, okay, so you're Hannah, right? So I don't know how far into writing this script she realized that she was going to be playing Hannah. When my friend recommended I first watch this show, I was definitely a little taken aback by this first scene because the actual style of the shot was really like underexposed and yellowy, and I'm usually like very excited about shows that are bright and have a lot of color and pop and like a pretty set. I'm watching The Mindy Project right now, and that's something about their set that, I mean, it just makes so much sense because the actual context of the show is so poppy and Mindy Kaling that I was like, ooh, is this even gonna be like interesting? Am I gonna like it? But this was immediately a scene that was so fascinating, I think, and relatable to a lot of people because especially people living in the city post-college, there's this moment where you're like, well, how much are my parents paying for? How much am I paying for? I'm kind of an adult, I'm kind of not. And I love this line. Lorene and Tad slowly work on their food while Hannah eats speedily, back and forth between a bowl of pasta, a salad, a side of spinach, and a baked potato. And then when Lorene and Tad ask her about her love life, she's like, dating is, dating's probably a polite word for what we're doing, but yeah. Something that stood out to me, I had not watched Lena Dunham before, so the way she talked and her comedic timing, I was immediately like, this person is so comfortable being funny. I've said this before, like she could read the dictionary and I would find it funny. So that was what kept me watching. And then they kind of ease into this conversation of like, you know, you've been doing this for a little bit, you've been doing that. I think it's time for one final push. Because it's Judd Apatow and he is all about a lot of improv, I could totally see him being like, you guys talk for 30 seconds and just when you get to the actual lines, get to the actual lines. And then Hannah arguing like, it's an internship that's gonna turn into a job, especially if you are in the creative arts like I was. There's this feeling that people will be like, you have an opportunity for this. You should be even lucky that you have this opportunity and like, we'll pay you at some point, but you know, this is a great opportunity for exposure. So you're like, wow, okay, I must be lucky. We're covering your rent, your insurance, Lorene says, your cell phone, Hannah, but you said it was cheaper for you if I was on the family plan. I am still on my parents' cell phone plan. And then in here, she's focusing on talking about like, I'm not gonna go back to Ann Arbor, but I don't think they even talk about this in the actual pilot. And a groovy lifestyle, I don't see in here either, which is so delightful that was an improv. Like, we can't keep funding your groovy lifestyle. She's like, my groovy lifestyle? Like, what? That makes total sense that that was improv. After this, we have the opening credits and we have the iconic scene that opens several different seasons, and I'm gonna describe it to you. And I think it's such a cool description because there's so many things that I didn't notice. A tiny Brooklyn bedroom, pale pink with a few carefully curated posters. Whit Stillman's Metropolitan, Bette Midler's Thigh and Whispers, a funny photo of Philip Roth, Jerry Seinfeld & Co. in bondage gear on an old Rolling Stone. 2 pairs of naked tangle legs, so you know that, pan up. 2 pairs of naked tangle legs. Post-coital? Pan up to reveal a decidedly non-sexual embrace between Hannah and Marnie, 23, pretty like Audrey Hepburn, circa middle school, black glasses askew. Hannah wears a huge plaid sleeping sack. Nearby, an empty sack of corn nuts and a laptop looping the Mary Tyler Moore DVD menu. An iPhone alarm goes off. Marnie slaps at Hannah. And then we switch over to Jessa, where she's in the cab and she's pulling up. And I feel like this scene, she looks a little bit like nervous almost, or maybe she's tired, I'm not sure. And at this point, we have no idea who she is or what her extensive crazy background of adventures are. And in here, there's a scene where it says, cab driver, miss, you have to pay. She genuinely forgot. I don't remember that. Did I black that out? And the cab driver goes, this is not American money. I don't remember that. Then we go back into Hannah and Marnie's living room, and Charlie comes in and he's just being like such a weenie. You're like, oh, Charlie. Marnie and Charlie are talking, and he removes her glasses, kisses her on the cheek, and I feel like that's what he's like, coming in for a kiss. And it's just so cringe, and you're like, stop, stop, stop. And this next scene is where we really get introduced to Marnie and Hannah's relationship. Like, Hannah's butt naked in the bathroom, shaving her legs. They're very close. Marnie is not gonna get naked in front of her, but Hannah's like, I don't know, I'm going to. Hannah goes, why don't I ever see your boobs? Do you not like to have your friends see your boobs? Is that true? Marnie says, not really true. No, I don't really like to be touched by people I'm not having sex with. That's true. Hannah goes, you'll never guess what I did to you in the night. That's funny. Oh my gosh. No, because then I remember her actually saying, well, you have to be, well, you're not having sex with Charlie. Like, I remember her bringing it more into Charlie. That's funny. And then Charlie walks in, and Charlie goes, whoa, sorry, I thought it was just my girlfriend. And Hannah goes, never just your girlfriend. Just saying goodbye. Now we have Jessa coming into the apartment. Shoshana's like, oh my god, hi, bonjour, roomie. You look so hip, I want to puke. As usual, I can never pull off a hat. How do you pull off a hat? And she's probably just improving. Your body like a rock star. It's too much. Do you work out? You must work out. You're my favorite cousin. Do you know that? You know? Yeah, so she was clearly, I mean, Zasha Mama did such a good job with this. And she was clearly so manic already. And then Marnie and Hannah walk towards the subway, and Hannah's talking about like, I'm just gonna say it, like, I've been working here for a year, and if I can't get paid, then I'll have to move on. It costs a lot of money to look this cheap. You think it'll work? And now we get introduced to Marnie being like, okay, what's the head count for this like party you want to do tonight? And Hannah's like, I think I'm gonna invite Adam. And Marnie's like, when did you guys even last talk? Like, and Hannah's like, should I call him? And this like reminds me of so many relationships, even that I have with my friends. Like, I have some relationships with friends where like we're on FaceTime all the time. Sometimes we call, and then I have friends who like we will text every day and be like, what's up? And then I have friends that we will text maybe like every month, or just like get on a long phone call every month. So it's so interesting that like there's so many different types of relationships here. And this is where we see like Marnie's perspective on Jessa. And Hannah goes, I think Jessa will really appreciate this. It's a very friendish thing of us to do. I can't believe that's so Lena Dunham, isn't it? It's a very friendish thing for us to do. And Marnie goes, she's not coming back. She's never lived here. And I just know she'll show up late, like some fabulous blankety dress at the Grecian marketplace. It's all so predictable. And then Hannah introduces the fact that like, oh, you know, we all went to college. I remember this, you know, the three of us on our bikes, and you know, we have something to learn from Jessa. Like, Hannah's excited, and Marnie's like, I'm tired of this. And then we go back into Shoshana's apartment. She's like, oh my god, like, it's such a great deal for Nolita. I mean, $2,100 a month, amazing. Do you like this poster? Like this? And that's when Jessa's like, I don't know what that movie is. And she's like, Sex and the City? You don't know what that is? And knowing Lena Dunham from her book or some interview, I remember her saying something akin to, when she wanted to make girls, like, I want to make a Sex and the City version of like Carrie, but she's like ugly and poor, or something to that effect. Like, I want to see the other part of it, because in Sex and the City, we never see a subway. We never see anything dingy. We only see the nice parts of Manhattan. And so this is a very different twist. And I think immediately my perception when I saw the first shot, I'm like, ooh, it's almost like, the coloring's almost like sickly, not in a bad way, but in a realistic way. Like, the way that I'm editing this video right now is I have a very flat color on it, and then it's going to become more colorful when I add elements to it. I feel like this has not been edited, because just like real life, I think she doesn't want it to be edited like something like Sex and the City with only the most fabulous shoes and dresses and restaurants and visuals. This is just the type of show that this is. There's this whole subplot about Marnie doing some work about sitting at a desk in a sleek corporate office, and she actually works at a public relations firm. That's really interesting. And she's like not doing well at this PR firm because she's talking about like doves killing babies or something. But we know actually in the show she works at an art gallery. Ooh, so interesting. Interior Roseblood press office day. So I think that is what Hannah is actually working in. She's in an open plan Brooklyn office. amongst tattooed hipsters and girls with bangs. Yeah, I do remember a girl being like, can you pass me this water, this really fancy water? She's talking with Marnie about how Marnie like messed up something in her job. Oh, that's so funny. I wonder why it flipped to being in an art gallery. Oh, that's so fascinating. So Hannah, this must be the scene that Hannah's going up to basically say like, I need to start getting paid. And so she goes up, hey Alistar, so I finished reading that graphic novel about transgendering. There are some great moments, but I think it sort of steps on the toes of the bisexual short story collection. Great, just wanted your invaluable opinion. I don't remember her saying that. Maybe I'm just forgetting everything. I do have a terrible memory, so. Oh yeah, I do remember this. She goes, I just recently learned that invaluable means very valuable as opposed to not at all valuable. I did recently learn that too. It's a very valid point. So I was hoping to speak to you about something, she says. Alistar goes, shoot. Well, I've been here since well over a year now, but my circumstances have recently changed and I can no longer afford to work for free. And Alistar, free? Well, we like to think we're paying you an experience. And like, what a strong commentary on what it is like to be an artist, especially in a big city. Like I mentioned at the beginning. Oh, you get exposure. Oh, you know, like that's your payment. And I see this as someone who went to school for theater, went to acting school, did theater for a lot of my life, and now even do like content creation work with UGC creators. Like UGC creators and content creators, very much seen like that as well. Like, oh, the exposure, what if you go viral? That's so cool for you. You don't need to get money for that. It's so crazy. And Hannah goes, of course, yeah, and this has been like so unbelievably educational, but I know Sharon mentioned that she got hired after interning, and I guess I wondered, and Alistar, oh, Hannah, Shannon's been with us since 2006, but in this economy, do you know how many internship requests I get every day? I feel like he's blowing smoke. That's no. 50, about 50, he says. I practically route them to my spam folder. Like it's that, if you don't feel like you have anything left to gain from us, so it's this like manipulative, like there's somebody here that's gonna replace you. There's, oh, just we'll call up the next person if you don't want this. It's just this like gross artist gaslighting that like, there's a truth to it, just to the point of like, hey, be humble and be grateful. But it just messes you up so much because then you live in this like scarcity mindset of like, at any day they can just replace me with someone else and like, I'm not valuable enough to actually be wanted in a larger environment for more than, you know, a few days or for actual pay. It's just so funny and silly, honestly. And then this great line, when you're hungry enough, you figure it out. And she goes, do you mean like physically hungry or like hungry for the job? And he's just like so gross and I hate him. And then she goes, you mentioned that I could send you my book once I polish it up. Is that still all right? Well, we won't have you to read it for us, will you? What? What does it even mean? So then we go back to Shosha's apartment and Shosha's just like so excited that she's here. And oh my God, like you must have so many things. Like tell me all your stories. I can't believe you're here. Like you're so cultured. I'm so boring. I'm just in school. I want to hear about you. And then Jess is like, I feel nauseous. Do you have a Xanax? And Shosha's like, no. And she's like, I'll take a Klonopin or a Fixeril. And Shosha's like, I have like Pepto. And I don't know if that made it to the actual episode. It's crazy because I've rewatched this 7 times, but like I'm not remembering all of it. I think this might like insinuate the fact that she does have a little bit of a drug problem. So now we're back to Hannah and Marnie's apartment. So what's interesting here is it sounds like Marnie might have gotten fired today, maybe? So it says Marnie goes, I really thought it was some complete firing hoax. And Charlie goes, so what did you do when you realized it was real? So maybe she got fired from that like Dove baby thing? And she goes, I went into the bathroom and puked. And he goes, that's my girl Pukey Roth. And she goes, I hate when you call me that. And he goes, you do? I thought you said it made you feel known. It reminds me of like the piggy bank. If you remember, it might have been a few episodes later when he's like, I thought you didn't like being taken from behind and it makes you feel like a piggy bank. And she goes, no, it makes me look like a piggy bank. Just ridiculous. And then Hannah comes in. Oh, so she actually got promoted. So, oh, interesting. Oh, so she thought she was getting fired, but actually Charlie goes, Hannah, did you hear? And Marnie goes, and Charlie goes, you were looking at a real life account executive. And Hannah goes, you got promoted? Marnie nods. Ooh. And Hannah goes, the Dove thing? And Marnie goes, last week this publicist had a breakdown and enrolled in pastry school, and then they saw how I handled this reporter and the headline was really positive. So tell her what the headline was, Charlie asks. Marnie goes, Dove situation not so one-sided after all. None of this made to the pot. That's, wow. Wow. I wonder if it was too much like Sex in the City, because Samantha works in PR. So maybe it felt too much like Sex in the City. Like, I would love to know what Jen or Judd had to say about that. Or maybe they were doing a reading, like usually you'll do a table read, and that's when you'll kind of get out all of the ideas of like, oh, you know what, I didn't really like how that landed, or I'm not in the film industry yet, manifesting, but from what I understand, there's a bunch of different versions of it, and then they do the table read, and the table read is kind of where they're like, oh, okay, this joke didn't land, or maybe let's try this something else. I would imagine they would probably change this before filming, because you can't really like film in a PR place and be like, let's improv and pretend like it's an art gallery. Like, you would kind of have to have that all figured out. And then Hannah's like, oh, things didn't work out well, and Marnie's like, you're gonna be fine. So if you remember, you are amazing, you are sex goddesses, both of you are sex goddesses. When I look at you, a Coldplay song starts in my heart or something. So that was actually only meant to be just her saying that to Marnie. So at this point, Shosha and Jessa are still at Shosha's apartment, and Jessa's throwing up. So this is at Shosha's apartment, because I'm pretty sure she was doing that at Hannah's apartment, right? Like, after she went there. And Jessa's like, Shosha's like, are you throwing up, babe? You Ralphing? What does that mean? Ralphing? I had no idea that Ralphing meant vomiting. Okay then. And Jessa's like, kind of, and she's like, on purpose? I knew it. This is something Aunt Eileen struggled with. She brings up Aunt Eileen, the first mention of Aunt Eileen. This is something Aunt Eileen struggled with for years. That's why her hair is so patchy. And she said it's not about weight, it's about control. And Jessa's like, no, it's not that. And Shosha goes, I can't really afford to get, like, personally, I can't really afford to get sick right now. I'm supposed to go to the 10AK tonight, a table with bottle service. Last time I had a stomach flu, my whole situation was fucked for a month. Jessa goes, I don't think I'm contagious. And Shosh goes, maybe it's food poisoning? Jessa goes, maybe. Shosh goes, okay, good. I wonder if she's still pregnant. Or like, you know, in this version. Shosh, if I learn anything from being a sorority, it's that reverse peristalsis is no joke. Okay, I don't know what that is, but that's funny. So then we go Fort Greene, Brooklyn. Hannah emerges from the subway and pulls out her iPhone. Yo, hey, yeah, I'm actually just leaving a friend's house that's like by your house. Oh, okay. So now she's kind of trying to go over to Adam before the party. She keeps walking until she reaches a pre-war apartment building. Stops. Totally weird, yeah. So I'm right here if you're not, oh, cool, I'll be there, and like, she rings the buzzer. So you can tell this is like the guy that she's trying to see. So, okay, interior Adam's apartment. A messy living room full of half-finished woodwork. Adam opens the door for Hannah. Adam, 33, handsome in a slightly off way. He wears cool worn jeans, no shirt, a heady mix of sleazy and in on the joke. Nice body. A heady mix of sleazy and in on the joke. Yeah. Yeah, like his facial expression where he's like ready, but he's like, I'm also self-aware. Like, I love that. Adam goes, doll. And Hannah goes, that's what my dad calls me. Oh my God. Okay, so this line, it was actually in the script written, yeah, he told me we're in the same reading group, but remember in the actual scene, he goes, we're in the same circle jerk. I wonder if that was one of those moments where Judd is like, hey, instead of reading group, say something different. Because I remember Jemima Kirk said that Judd would give them instructions to like say something different in every scene. So I wonder if that was one of the things. Ah, I love that. And Adam's like, you were nearby? And Hannah's like, yeah, my friend Katie's. Katie from camp. She's a speechwriter for the mayor. Lives right around the corner. Like, just blah, blah, blah. And Adam's like, where? And she's like, it's weird. I had a few drinks, so I'm actually not sure. I'm like, really, blah, blah, blah. She's just like, I don't, let's move on, because I can't cover for myself. And she says, I lost my job. Adam goes, weren't you an intern? Yeah, so they basically just asked you not to hang out there anymore. I remember this. And it was sweet of you to remember my birthday. I remember the first time I was watching this, I didn't like Adam for a bit. I'm like, you are a little sleazy. Like, you're being mean. And he was asking about her weight and stuff, but I learned to love him. But then I got my heart broken because they didn't end up together. Let me know if I should read through another pilot script or another script in general and which one I should do. And by the way, if you feel like you are like Hannah is your spirit animal, definitely watch this video next because this is for you. It breaks down Hannah as a character and it's basically helps you manifest who you are through Hannah's eyes. And so Hannah's like, you know that part on your resume where they ask you to list your special skills? I have no special skills. So she introduces this idea of like, I don't like know what I'm good at. Like I like to write, so I want to write. And so she's like, I like, what am I good at? I type fast, I can read, I have legs. I don't remember her saying that. I gotta stop saying that because it might be in the pilot, I just didn't remember. And we kind of get introduced to this idea that like they have this interesting relationship where it's not just hooking up, it's like different dynamics and like someone being tied down and the other person doing something weird, and it's this like off relationship, and now you're thinking, oh, maybe this is why Marnie thinks it's weird. So then, you know, she goes on the couch and he's like, put your hands behind your back and let me go, get ready, and they start doing all this stuff. Hannah turns her face to the side, smiles to herself like, I can't believe this is happening, flips over, starts to unzip her pants. So there's this knowing of like, I'm consent, I like this. I knowingly like this. So then we get into Nolita Street night. Jessa hails a cab. She asks to go to Greenpoint. She still doesn't feel well. She tries to lie down in the cab. The driver's like, you can't do that. Don't throw up in my car. And Jessa's like, I'm not drunk. Oh, okay, so this is interesting. So in the pilot, the first person she tells that she's pregnant to is Marnie in the bathroom. But in this pilot script, she tells the driver. So the driver's like, don't throw up in my car. I always get the party girls in my car. And just like, I'm not drunk, I'm pregnant. And he's like, congratulations. And she's like, And then the driver starts talking about how much he has, and she's just very sick and not interested in talking about this. Very fascinating. We go back to Hannah and Adam, post-coital, and he's like, all my sheets are at the laundromat. And they're covering, Hannah and Adam are done. They sit on the couch together naked, their scandalous parts covered by a beach towel. Hannah's curled up in a ball, cold. And he goes, sorry, all my sheets are at the laundromat. This is what you have to look forward to once you hit 30. And Hannah's like interested about who he slept with. Like, am I the youngest person you've slept with? I'm 24. And she's sort of questioning her looks, and she's like, so my skin is basically the tightest it's gonna be, because Adam's like, I'm just talking about their skin, like skin starts to hang differently for like older women. And she's like, oh my gosh. And I think she's thinking to herself, she's like, I have no job. I'm young, but I'm also getting old. And she's like, what do I do? What do I do? This is all I have to forget about the terrors that are going on in my life right now. My parents cut me off, I don't have a job, and it sucks. So the opium gets introduced actually by Adam in the pilot script, not by Ray. So Adam goes, you want some tea? She goes, what kind? I made this brew out of opium pods. It's just a pretty mellow high. And I do remember in Lena's book, her talking something about doing opium in a specific situation. And then Adam is the one who says, she goes, what does it taste like? And Adam goes, like twigs. And she goes, like Twix, and then she has it. And he goes, twigs, like in small sticks. This is all what Ray ends up saying while they're at the party. I wonder why later on it sounds like Jessa talking to the taxi driver, and then Hannah talking to Adam. They're both in like not in group environments, so I wonder what the purpose of being like, let's actually make it all together, like they can kind of have their private conversations like Jessa and Marnie in the bathroom, but like they are all like the dynamics of the party is shifting because people are starting to understand all of this. I wonder if that's why it was shifted. And so Hannah's talking about she can't be in New York, like if she can't be in New York, she can't finish her book. So she's like, I'm being cut off, I don't have a job. If I can't be in New York, I'm gonna have to move back with my parents, and then I can't finish my book because her parents are in the Midwest. So she's equating being able to finish a book by being in New York. And so it's interesting because she like equates needing to be in a certain area to finish her book. She can't like finish her book up there, I guess because she doesn't feel like she'll have the inspiration. I feel like it speaks to the millennial experience when you watch a show like Sex and the City, and you're like, wow, all the opportunities are right there. All the friends I could have, all the jobs I could have, all my dreams I could have are right in the city, and if I'm not there, I don't have that. And this is coming from somebody who, I live very close to the city. I don't live in the city anymore, but I can sense a difference, like where I am right now and the culture kind of not being as creative as I wish. So I understand Hannah on one sense. On another sense, it's like, write your book from anywhere and then yet let that help you get the opportunity to get a place in the city. But I also get it. Like, I get the energy of needing that bubble of culture and creativity. So we're back in Hannah and Marnie's apartment. Marnie and Charlie are cleaning the kitchen, getting ready for this party. Marnie goes, I can't believe Hannah. And Charlie goes, are you worried? She goes, no, I know exactly where she is. Because she's like, what the heck? Like, you were supposed to help me get ready for this party. It was probably Hannah's idea anyway. And now she's not there because she's with Adam. And Marnie's like, I know exactly where she is. And Charlie goes, well, at least you didn't have to entertain Jessa on your own. And Marnie goes, because all my friends are total flakes. And I end up looking like this old shrew with a vagina made of sand just because I want them to like keep the plans they make. And this theme comes up throughout the series. And especially I'm remembering this one scene with her and Jessa where she's like, no, Jessa, I know what you think of me. You think that I'm lame and I'm a party pooper and I'm a control freak. So she's very aware of it, but she's also like disappointed by the people around her and how they can't just show up to one thing and be responsible. So now Jessa's here. Marnie throws down the key. So now we're in the Midtown hotel room that Tad and Lorene are in. Super interesting. So Hannah takes the opium from Adam and she goes straight to, so I wonder if she just never goes to the party in the first pilot. So she goes straight to Tad and Lorene's room and she's on opium. So she knocks on the door and she goes, I've come to plead my case. I need to be in New York if I'm going to have a chance. And they're like, what? She's like, I need to live, to have experiences that fuel my work. Exactly what I was saying. To go full speed on my book. If you cut me off, I have nothing. And Tad says, let's not use the words like cut off. And Lorene goes, or nothing. This isn't a Dickens novel. We're not going to let you starve, but we're not up for bankrolling your lifestyle. So if you need to be here, you can find a paying job, which is understandable. So she goes, I have pages from the book. And Lorene says, great, we'll read them on the plane. So it sounds like this is the same scene that is actually in the pilot. Oh, oh. So the voice of a generation, or at least a voice of a generation, this was not initially in the pilot script. So the voice of my generation was, but she says, I think I may be the voice of my generation, at least a voice, a strong voice. And I think Jen was the one who said, at least a voice of a generation. I think she was the one who changed that. And so Hannah's like, before you start, I'll just say, like, I've done you a disservice by not letting you read this sooner. I think it would have saved you a lot of anxiety to know the seriousness of my product. And she goes, and I also understand that for parents, the great fear is your children surpassing you. It's a hope, but also a fear. And that makes reading my work daunting. And they're like, okay, just give it to us. And Tad like chuckles and she's like, which part are you at? Like, she is such a child. So they're like kind of understanding it, kind of not. And she's over explaining herself. It kind of is a mirror to what she ends up doing when she goes to grad school, where she's like, okay, where are you at? Okay, no, this is what I meant by this. And this is what I meant by this. Where in reality, every time you create any piece of content, any piece of art, you're not gonna really be able to defend yourself. And that theme comes up later, but right now, you know, we're season 1, she don't know that. So this is when she starts slumping to the floor and they're like, oh my gosh, what did she take? And Hannah goes, it's legal like flowers. I remember this line. You're too neurotic for psychedelics, Lorene says. I've been saying that since you were a little girl. She goes, opium pods, a tea of opium pods. And Lorene's like, we should Google that. And Hannah goes, why is this happening? You're both acting like crazy people. You can't do it like this. You have to wean me off the tea. Don't be like doves. Don't be like doves and kill your baby. It's going back to Marnie's thing. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So now we're interior Marnie's bedroom night. Okay, so she never goes to the party in the pilot episode. Obviously in the actual episode she does, but she does not go to the party. Tiny room, so interior Marnie's bedroom night. Tiny room, more maturely decorated than Hannah's. Marnie and Jessa sit on the bed, awkward distance. Jessa goes, I'm sorry I was late. Marnie goes, I was expecting it. Jessa goes, it's a little bit hard to get here. I wasn't feeling very well. I was throwing up. Marnie is like, I puke today too. I puke a lot. My mom says it's a stress plague on women in there, and Jessa tells her I'm pregnant. I'm late because I'm pregnant. So first she tells the driver, then she tells Marnie, but it's in her room instead of in the bathroom, which is what it ends up being. I wonder if they changed it to the bathroom in the party because that adds like a sense of urgency. Like, you know, when you're at a party, you go to the bathroom, you come out after a few minutes, but if you're in the bathroom for a while at a party, whether it's, you know, usually, I would assume like a party where people are conscious and they're not like drinking a lot, even they'd be like, especially a small party, they're like, where did they go? You know, so maybe they added it like that because they wanted it to feel a little bit more urgent. So the pilot closes with Hannah awake, groggy, looks around, her parents are gone. Same as the episode. She picks up the bedside phone. Hi, I'm in room 407 and I'd like to get some room service. Oh, they've checked out already, so that means the account is closed, like I can't add anything? Okay, no thanks. Thank you. She walks to the desk where her coat is folded beside her book pages. There are 2 envelopes. One says housekeeping, the other Hannah. She looks in hers, a $20 bill. Looks in housekeeping's, same. She adds the housekeeping 20 to her own envelope. Same as what she does in the pilot. Like, you understand where she's coming from because she's an artist and she's like, read my stuff, see how talented I am? And then she pulls something like that and you're like, why are you acting like a child? Seriously? And then I remember this actually is the ending scene where I believe of episode 1, Hannah exits still groggy, sour looking. She doesn't know where to head next. A homeless man surprises her by speaking. Why don't you smile? Does your head hurt? Hannah smiles weakly. Homeless man, oh girl, when I look at you, I just want to say, hello, New York. Hannah holds her coat close against the cold and walks. The end. What an interesting way to end with the homeless man, because I remember that actually being in the first episode. I feel like it's like the exact opposite of what Sex and the City is, because I feel like Sex and the City, like if the episode ended with them walking, it was like Carrie walking fabulously, or them all walking together, or them being in like her like looking out the window in her apartment. Where here it's the complete opposite, where it's a homeless man being like, yeah, that's New York. Like the complete opposite of, I just stole $40 thinking that's gonna do something. If you feel like you resonate with Hannah, because I feel like this says so much about Hannah, go ahead and watch the next video all about the untold lore of Hannah Horvath. I had so much fun doing this with you. Let me know if I should do another pilot script below. Subscribe if you liked, and I will see you next time, friend. Bye.
Ooh.